Are we live? Dun, dun, dun. Can anyone hear? Hello, hello. Dun, dun, dun. All right, people. I hope you can hear me. If you wouldn't mind, type in the comments if you can hear. Wonderful. All right. Let's just make sure we are well organized here. Hello, hello. Nice to see you all. All right. Wonderful. Thank you for the feedback because this is kind of new to me, so I wasn't sure if we are live or not. So great to see you. And shall we begin? All right. So welcome, everyone. My name is Shani. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a certified holistic nutrition consultant, and I'm a founder of Lemon Tree Nutrition. I also run a Facebook group, which is called Enough with Feeling Constantly Tired, that was open for women at the age of 40 or 50 who constantly feel tired and want to get support from other women. But today we have gathered to talk about a very, very current subject, which is called intermittent fasting. Before we start, I would like to point out a few very important points because, people come from different backgrounds, so I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Everything that I'm going to share with you here, everything that I'm going to say should not be seen as personal recommendation. It's all general information, and it's for educational purposes only. No one should see it as a personal recommendation for themselves. Also, in regards to the specific subject that I'm going to talk about, intermittent fasting should not be done if you are pregnant, if you're breastfeeding, if you're underweight, if you're malnourished, if you have eating disorders or disordered eating, if you have a BMI under 20, or if you are under 18 years of age. Also, fasting is not recommended if you are taking any prescription medications. Do not go on a fast if you have diabetes, if you're pre-diabetic, or if you have any illnesses, diseases, syndromes, or any other issues. Whatever you decide to do, you should consult with your healthcare practitioner or doctor before you do. So just make sure that you are covered in that matter. Use common sense, be responsible. If you decide to go on intermittent fasting, please make sure that you are doing it in a responsible way, and you should be good. All right, so let's begin. Just one more thing. I hope everyone is doing well in this crazy time. Hope everybody's healthy and all your loved ones are healthy too. All right, what is actually fasting? Fasting is actually not eating. As simple as it sounds, it's the abstaining from food. There are some cases when it's also abstaining from any consumption of liquids, even water. It depends what is the reason you're fasting. If it's religious, some religions do not even allow you to consume water. I know Ramadan is starting today, I think, or this week sometime. Happy Ramadan to everyone who is going on that. But in Ramadan, for example, you are not allowed to eat or drink during sunlight hours. So that's a certain type of fast. Another reason to fast would be health. If you're planning to have an operation, sometimes your doctor would recommend not to eat anything or to drink anything before the operation because it may cause some issues. So that's another cause. Overall, as you can imagine, fasting could be done for different reasons. Could be meditation. Some religions believe that when you meditate on a fasting stage, you can connect more to your inner thoughts and beliefs, and it helps you because the body's not busy doing something else. And digestion is something that takes a lot from the body. We'll talk about it soon. Hi to all the people that are joining us. Thank you for joining us. We have just started, so you didn't miss a lot. We just talked about the background of fasting, why is it done, and we just mentioned religion, health, meditation, and sometimes people just want to fast because they don't want to deal with food. It's just, they're busy, or they decide to skip breakfast just because it's too much to deal with, and that's also a reason. It's been done for centuries. It's actually in the history books, and people have been doing it forever. So to differ from other trends that you may run into currently, fasting is not a trend. Fasting has been done as much as history exists. People have always done that. Why did I decide to do my webinar on intermittent fasting? One of the reasons is that I hear that people, the minute I say intermittent fasting, people immediately say, oh, that's 16 to 8 hours kind of fast. And it kind of like turned a light bulb in my head. And I thought that people actually don't know much about that 16-8 or 24 or 14-10 kind of routine, and why. What's the logic behind the 16-8 or whatever division there is? And I'll go into that in a second, but I wanted to explain more what goes behind fasting. Why is it 16-10 or 12-12 or whatever it may be? And to give you a better understanding of the benefits and also the cons. There's pros and cons for everything, right? And that includes intermittent fasting. Just like everything in life, for one person it may work and for other it may not. And this is why I wanted to talk about it, because it can be very, very confusing, especially when it's so trendy right now. People are talking about the 16-8, meaning that you fast for 16 hours and that leaves you 8 hours to eat. So it's not a lot. And, some people may do it from noon to 8 p.m. and some people may start at 10 in the morning and then finish, like their last meal would be at 6. It's personal, but my point is that it doesn't have to be 16-8. It doesn't have to be 12-12. It doesn't have to be 14-10. There's also the 5-2, which is fasting 5 days a week and eating only in the other 2. And I'll talk about that too. So we need to understand that there are many options. When the very beginning starts with what is fasting, fasting is not eating for a certain period of time. Okay, this is something that I refer to as fasting. Fasting is when you do not consume anything that has a caloric value to it. And by the way, if you have any questions, you can either type them or maybe type them and then I'll refer to them in the very end just to make sure. Do you need me to? Oh, okay. So you have questions. Wonderful. So I'll try to answer everything in the end if that works for you, and that should cover that side. So back to fasting. Fasting is abstaining from food or anything that has a caloric value to it. So when someone tells you, oh, I'm fasting 5 days a week and then eating in the other 2, it doesn't mean that they do not eat completely. It means that they consume a very low caloric intake. So they would eat about 500 calories per day, which is very, very low. But when you think about fasting, which is not eating, they're not eating, if that makes sense. So let's focus on the daily intermittent fasting as opposed to the 5-2, because that's a whole different thing. It's not something I recommend at this point. It has to be supervised. It has to be very, very carefully managed. So this is something that I'm not going to refer to in this webinar. I'm going to refer to the daily one, which is a certain window of hours in which you would not eat, and then a shorter window in which you would eat. Does that make sense? Type in the comments if that makes sense, and we can go from there just to make sure we are all understanding where we are at. I'm referring to the type of fasting that is done on a daily basis, on a regular basis, and not a few days in and few days out. Thank you. What works for one doesn't necessarily work for another. We must understand that although we are all equal as humans, or at least we should be, but that's a different subject, we are different biologically. So if someone is not considering themselves as a morning person, they would be maybe more inclined not to eat in the morning just because their system is functioning in a different way. Their circadian cycle makes them not hungry in the morning. So that would be one group of people. Another group of people would be if they work out first thing in the morning. Others work at night. So you see, a lot of people have different personalities, different lifestyle, different choices. So what works for one doesn't necessarily work for another. So when someone decides on intermittent fasting, first of all, they have to ask themselves, why do they want to do that and how? If someone does the 16-8 fasting, it doesn't mean that this is what you have to do. It means this is what works for them. You can modify it per your lifestyle and your choices. So that's the general information. We'll go into detail, I promise, but I just want to give you that overlook on the different types of fasting, and of course how people should take it differently depending on their own choices. So intermittent fasting is cycling between fasting and eating. So certain hours, again, certain hours where you do not eat and certain amount of hours where you do eat. Are there benefits in that trend? Are there benefits to intermittent fasting? Before I say yay or nay, let's begin with the fact that intermittent fasting is not a diet. Intermittent fasting should not be done for weight loss. And if you're asking, can you put on weight with intermittent fasting? Absolutely you can. Can you lose weight with intermittent fasting? Yeah, of course, you can. And the reason would be because you ate less calories than you exerted. And this is true to every weight loss plan out there. If you eat less than what you exert, or if you exert more than what you eat, that would be the way to lose weight. It is possible that if you go with 16:8 ratio of intermittent fasting, and in this 8-hour window that you allow yourself to eat, you consume more than what your body uses, you'll gain weight. So we shouldn't look at intermittent fasting as a diet. We should look at it with other benefits, which I will list soon. Another thing to consider before going on intermittent fasting, if you decide to, and again, not for a weight loss reason, you could, but that's not the intention. Another reason would be to, another important thing to remember would be to start it from a healthy place. And what do I mean by that? If you have nutritional deficiencies, if you are stressed, if you have any diseases, if you have any illnesses, any syndromes, any issues that the body is going through, first of all, you need to make sure that you are fixing those issues or looking into them. You need to make sure that your body starts a certain regimen from a healthy and strong place. Because fasting creates a certain stress on the body. Not eating releases stress, but if you're coming from an unhealthy place, it creates more stress. And I'll give you some example, and I think this is one of the most common examples given out there. Women especially, also men have thyroid issues, but women especially with thyroid issues, whether it's hypothyroidism or hyper or hypo, if you come from that place, the thyroid is connected to the adrenals. The adrenal glands are glands that are in charge of stress and release of some hormones, and that of course is controlled by our hypothalamus. It's all connected, but when you come from a place where you're already in a minus, in a struggling place, in a place where your body is trying to deal with stress, then adding the second stress of fasting can actually make your issue stronger, make it exacerbate it. And probably that's the last thing you want to do, right? If you are struggling with thyroid issue, you don't want to make it worse. Does that make sense? So you want to make sure that when you start anything, actually, when you start a sport, when you start a diet, when you consider fasting, you want to make sure that you are healthy. And that brings me to the next point. If you decide to fast, let's say again, we're always taking that 16:8 ratio where 16 hours you are fasting and 8 hours is the window where you can eat. If you decide to go with that, it doesn't mean that in the 8 hours you're going to stuff your face with whatever is there because you have fasted and you will fast again for 16 hours. That's not the point. Of course, the point is to eat very healthily and make sure that nutritionally you are very strong to sustain that condition that you are about to present your body with, and that's a lack of food for 16 hours. So again, being healthy is a very, very important state of your body to be in before you begin fasting. And nutritionally have very good healthy food during the window that you allow yourself to eat. Benefits. First of all, let's talk about digestion. Digestion is actually a very intricate, complex, difficult procedure that takes place in our body. It's How many times have you had Thanksgiving dinner and after that you felt like all you want to do is close your eyes and sleep because it was so exhausting? Well, of course, because your body's trying to digest the foods you just consumed. You feel very heavy. Maybe you have some foods that you eat normally, not just at Thanksgiving, that makes you feel tired after. It's because your body is making the effort to process, digest, and do what it has to do with the food you just consumed. So it's imagine that during that time when you are not eating, you are allowing your body to do other things like recovery from sports, for example, or recovery from stress, or lots of other things. And B, it allows it to focus on the process of using or utilizing whatever it is that you have given it so far. So let's say your last meal of the day was at 8 p.m. and now you are kind of resting and relaxing, and let's say at 10 p.m. you are ready to have another meal. Your body will be like, whoa, you just had food. I haven't had the chance to digest it and clear out things and kind of let the systems accept what you've just consumed. And now you're adding more and more food to it, which is kind of like snacking, right? How many times have we had breakfast and then an hour later a snack, and then 2 hours later maybe another snack, and then at 1 p.m. maybe we had lunch, and then at 3 p.m. we had a snack, and then maybe 5 p.m. a snack, and then 6 or 7 we had dinner. So the body's constantly working on digestion when you didn't give it a break to actually utilize whatever it is that you have given it in the first meal or the prior meal. And it's like, this is too much, I don't know what to do, and it's just constantly working on digestion. So intermittent fasting, or simply not eating in between meals, and we'll talk about that soon, gives the body a break. It gives it a break to focus on other things than digestion. Maybe you work out and your body needs to allow your muscles to recover from your workout. If it focuses on digestion, it will be hard for it to recover properly from the workout. Or let's say you are very stressed at work and you have to do something because you have a deadline, and you're eating on the go, and your body's like, wait, what do I do first? Do I digest? Do I deal with the stress? Do I send hormones to relax you? Like, what do I do first? Does that make sense? So kind of like fasting or not eating allows your body to recover. Some studies show that it has certain health benefits. For example, in addition to giving our body some rest, which also stabilizes some hormones in our body, it allows us to fight inflammation, for example. If you are suffering from something, and not always we are aware of an inflammation that happens in our body, it will allow our body to focus on dealing with that inflammation. So if you are, let's take a simple example. You have a tooth infection. You are not feeling a pain, but you're suffering from an inflammation. Your body will be able to take care, I'm not saying heal, but take care of that inflammation in a more efficient way when it's not dealing with digestion. We have a couple of hormones, lots of hormones in our body, but a couple are related to hunger and satiety. Sorry, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it, but you know what I mean, the opposite of hunger. That's leptin and ghrelin, and these two sometimes are not very sharp as we age. I don't know if you ever ran into the situation where you were not really hungry, but was baking something, or someone at work brought something that smells really good, and you went and had a bite. You weren't hungry. You wouldn't have eaten that should it was not there, just sitting there for you to grab. But that hormone that makes you hungry sometimes is triggered by a subconscious reaction to the smell, and you're like, oh, I'll just grab a bite, and you're not even hungry. So by fasting, there's kind of like sharpening of that feeling. It's not that you have more leptin or more ghrelin, it's the ability to differentiate between the two, and the psychological ability to say, I had enough, I don't need more food, even though that cookie sits there and it smells amazing, I don't feel like eating it. So that's another thing. Some people report that they feel more sharp in their way of thinking when they have fasted longer than just overnight. Some people don't find it affecting their brain. Some people do. Again, it's a very personal thing, but some studies have shown that it has a certain effect on our body. And I know a lot of people are thinking about fat burning, and everybody's into keto and all that good stuff, so I have to talk about that too. Yes, when you fast and you don't have food that gives our body glucose to immediately use, yes, your body will more efficiently use the fat storages in our body. So yes, when you fast over 12 hours, your body will use fat storages. That is like the title. But under the title, you should be aware of the fact that you will not lose weight or you will not lose fat should you replenish those storage with overeating more than what you need later on. Does that make sense? So again, I'm going back to the same place. Per 24 hours, if you need 1,600 calories for the 24 hours, and you have allocated them to those 8 hours of eating, if you eat 1,700, you will still have fat storage because of the extra 100 calories. So no matter what you do, if you eat more than what your body needs or uses, it doesn't matter if the fat storage are being used when you fast, right? Because a lot of people are thinking, oh, I'll fast and then my body will use the fat storage and then I'll lose weight. Yes, only if you do not overeat during the hours where you are having the eating window. Make sense? Okay, let me know if not. If I'm confusing you too much, I'm trying to see if there's anything urgent. Yes, Raina, I heard it was, Raina says, I heard it was to allow your stomach to heal properly from the food you eat. It's not that your stomach will heal. It provides you the time to let your entire body manage all the systems better. If you are eating foods that are not healthy, your stomach won't heal, right? So you need to make sure that the foods that you consume in the window where you leave yourself to consume foods, they are healthy, they are nourishing, they are good. They're not processed, they're not high in sugar, they're not high in simple carbs, no alcohol, stuff like that. If you're high on good quality protein and fruits and vegetables and good quality fats, then there's a synergetic reaction in our body of both the ability to heal the gut and the ability to use the nutrients from the high quality foods. Emma, I have heard that eating prior to and post workout is good, good, healthy fats and protein, etc. But is that a negative for the digestive system not getting a break? Let me get into that. I'm going to get into that. And Lily was wondering if you need to increase your liquid intake if intermittent fasting. I love that question, and I'll tell you why. You guys know I'm a big advocate of being hydrated. And being hydrated is something that you do, that you need to do, whether you are fasting or not. So I hope I'm understanding your question, Lily, because when you say liquid intake, does that mean just water? If you mean water, yes, increase it. Or at least, well, let me put it this way. You need water. Yes. Thank you, Raina. So you need to drink water or herbal teas to make sure that your body can flush away the things that you are releasing during, thank you. Yes, water. Thanks for clarifying. So yes, increase water intake or herbal teas, because herbal teas do not have the caffeine effect, and I'm getting there to the caffeine too. They don't have that effect on you. They just help flush things away. And one of the things that happen during intermittent fasting is the ability of the body to get rid of, I'm not going to say toxins, because the body gets rid of toxins regardless of what you do. That's what skin is for, the liver is for, the kidneys. That's, the body does that regardless of what we do. It just does it more efficiently. If you drink enough, if you're hydrated enough, then your body can utilize the water to do everything that it needs. Whether you're fasting or not, you need to have enough water on a regular basis. It depends on what you do. It depends on where you live. If you live in a very cold climate and dry, or if you live in a very hot climate and dry or humid, it doesn't matter. But the more extreme the climate is, like we have here in Canada or down south in the States, or Central America, areas like that, you need to consume probably 3 liters of water. I don't know what it is in gallon for the Americans here, but 3 liters of water is good intake on average. Does that make sense? Perfect. We can also kind of connect the intermittent fasting into energy levels. A lot of people talk about an increase in their energy because their body is not wasting energy on digestion. So if one of you is planning to try it or already did, you may notice fluctuation in energy. Sometimes it could be more, sometimes it could be less. Oh, thank you, Raina. 64 ounces sounds a lot. 3 liters sounds less. So you guys decide if you want to have 64 ounces or 3 liters. But anyhow, you know what, I'm going to sip. Just 1 second. I'm talking a lot. But yeah, just make sure that you have either 64 ounces or 3 liters of water, and you should be good. But anyhow, the reason some people feel more fatigued is either because they have reacted to the intermittent fasting from a state of deficiency, and some people feel more energized because of the change. Whatever you do, if you want to decide if intermittent fasting is good for you or not, you need to try it for an extended period of time. You can't make conclusions based on a day or two, right? It's kind of like when someone says, oh, I'm going to go on a diet of eating only apples in the day. Are you going to feel different? Of course, because you did something different. You've never had only apples during the day, so you'll feel different the next day. But long term, is it good to have only apples per day? No. Make sense? All right, let's move on because it is half an hour into our webinar. I don't want to waste too much of your time. I would like to emphasize that fasting, intermittent fasting, is not for everyone for the reasons that I have mentioned before. Not everybody likes it. I've mentioned physical differences like diseases and where you're at, if you are fatigued, if you are stressed, if you are nutritionally deficient, things like that. That would not be something you would want to start immediately. You would need to make sure that you are rising yourself to a better place physically, mentally, emotionally in order to be able to fast. Especially women, by the way. I know men also have similar issues, but lucky us, women, we have them in a stronger way. So look into that. I know a lot of people are concerned about hurting their metabolism. A lot of people say, well, you know, if you fast, your body will think that you're not going to ever give it food again. So let's talk about that. Fasting, I'm going to use an analogy of baby. It's kind of weird, but it really makes the point. When babies are very, very small, like in the first 6 months of their life or 8 months or whatever, when you put them in a room and you leave the room, in their head, you're gone. They don't know when you're going to be back. They have no idea when is the next time that you'll see them, right? Same with food. Your body has to make sure that you are giving it what it needs in order to reach something that is called homeostasis. So balance. It's a fancy word for balance. Just like when we sweat, it's in order to cool our body off, or when we shiver, it's in order to warm our body off. It always wants to balance. Same with eating food. It will release ghrelin to make your stomach growl. It's the same kind of word. So you know that you're hungry, to balance it with food. And then it will release leptin, which is the satiety hormone, to tell you, I'm good, you can stop. Don't eat anymore. Always balance. So with fasting, your body's like, oh no, she's not eating. I need to slow everything down, start conserving fat, make sure that it's there because she's starving me now. No, don't worry about it. And I'll tell you why. The body is very, very smart. There's something that is called muscle memory. When you do something on a regular basis and you allow your body to get used to that, the body will know, oh, so she's not having food until 10 a.m., but she did yesterday and the day before and a week before and a month before. I know what's going to happen. At 10 a.m., she's going to have food. And you'll see if you decide to go on a fast, with time, you won't be hungry before 10 a.m. You'll be fine because your body's not used to it. But at 10 a.m., your body's going to be like, I'm hungry. I need food, because every day at 10 a.m., you're giving it food. It has to do with your circadian cycle. If you go to bed every night at the same time, and on the weekend, there's a party, you're going out, whatever, and usually you are, I'm not sure my body's that smart. Yes, it is, Reina. It's brilliant. And let's say every day, every night, you're going to bed at 10 p.m. and you're going on the weekend to a party and you're planning to stay up until midnight, you will feel that at 10 p.m. you're like, oh God, I need to kind of like somehow manage to keep my eyes open, because your body remembers that for so long you went to bed at 10 p.m. It's ready to go to bed at 10 p.m. It has to do with our biological clock. It has to do with our circadian rhythm or cycle. And our body is brilliant. Everybody's body is brilliant. So whatever you do on a regular basis, your body will get used to. They say it takes 66 days to create a habit. I'm not saying that it will take you 66 days to, if you decide to fast until 10 a.m. every morning, just an example, that after 66 days, you'll never be hungry again. No, our body goes through different things every single day, and it could be true and it could be not true. But the point is that you will get used to that, and your body will not change its metabolism because you are not starving it for a very extended period of time. Metabolism slows down if you do not exercise, if you do not move, if you do not lift weights, if you do not keep a healthy lifestyle. That's where your body's like, I don't need to exert so much calories because that person is not using so many. That's where your metabolism goes down. If you want to have good metabolism, you have to keep moving. You have to exercise. You have to move. You have to let your body use the calories that you are consuming. Make sense? All right. So that hopefully that answered the metabolism part. Any questions so far? Let me know in the comments if this makes sense and if we are good to continue, because now we're going to move a little bit into the technical part of intermittent fasting, how to do that and how to stop fasting. Are we ready? Perfect. All right. So intermittent fasting could be easily done and easily achieved if you do it overnight, because for the most part of it, you're sleeping, right? So if you are asleep, you're not eating anyhow. So take advantage of that. And if you're sleeping for 6 hours, 7, if we're lucky, 8 hours, 8 hours of your planned fast, you already fasted and it's gone. So you can choose to do an 8-hour fast, 9-hour fast, 10, 11, 12. It's up to you. But what I want you to keep in mind is to do it gradually. And how, first of all, let's give an example of a 12-hour fast. Okay? 12-hour fast would be, let's say, from 8 p.m. What's today? Thursday, right? Yes, Thursday. So today's Thursday, 8 p.m. is the last time I'm going to chew anything. So it's not you start dinner at 8 p.m. and then whenever it's done, it's the last thing you consumed of the evening. So let's say I'm going to have dinner after this and it's going to be 8 p.m. At 8 p.m., I'm going to stop my last bite. Exactly, 8 to 8. So a 12-hour fast would be from 8 p.m. tonight until 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. That's a 12-hour fast. So clearly, if you want a 13 or 14-hour fast, you'll stop tonight at 8 and then go into 9 or 10 a.m. in the morning. So a fast would be no food whatsoever in those hours, of which a certain amount of hours you're asleep. Makes it easier. But you are allowed to drink water. Now, herbal teas are fine too, as long as you don't add milk to it, or technically anything that has a caloric value to it. So if someone tells you, oh, I fast 16 hours and I have coffee and milk around 10 a.m., he broke his fast. And it's fine. I'm not saying it's not okay. If this is the way you want to fast, if the 16 hours fast for you includes a cup of coffee with some milk, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that, but you can't call it a fast because you have consumed something with calories. So if you really want to avoid calories, if you really want to experience that break of full recovery to your body, do not consume anything with a caloric value to it. So water and herbal teas are considered not fast breaking. So you can consume as much water as you want, as much tea as you want. And sometimes, I don't know anyone who goes to bed at 8 p.m. And if they do, they're very lucky. But sometimes, at 8 p.m. you finish dinner and 10 p.m. you're kind of like feeling like you want a snack. Grab a cup of tea. If you intend to go into intermittent fasting, and I'm assuming that if you're here in the webinar, you are interested in trying it out. If you haven't done so yet, try to take in a warm cup of tea, something relaxing, some kind of an herbal tea, something that will calm yourself down. Take a few deep breaths. In the beginning, it might be difficult. It might be a bit challenging because your body is used to, again, remember the muscle memory. Your body is used to snacking if you have snacked before, after dinner. So in the beginning, there will be some resistance. There will be a situation where you're like, I want a little something, and that's fine, but try to not do that. And for a few days, it might be challenging. And after a few days, and how many days that's individual to you, it will be easier and easier and easier until the point where you're like, I don't need a snack. I'm fine without it. And again, it's personal. For some, it will be after a week, for some after a month, and for some, it will be great for a while. And then all of a sudden, they're like, oh my God, I need a cookie and I don't care. Have the cookie. Nothing's going to happen. So I'm just saying, if overall you're managing to plow through without having a snack when you are intermittent fasting, a night snack, then just plow through, go through that, and don't worry if occasionally you need that. Just remember, there's a muscle memory, and if you do it frequently, your body will start craving it back again. The benefit also to stop eating at a certain moment and then going to sleep after your body had enough time to digest the food from supper is better sleep. It's harder for our body to calm down itself and sleep properly when it has to work on digestion. Even if you have something small, the body still has to digest it. And when I say something small, it's like a snack before bed. So if you manage to have supper at 7 or at 8 p.m., and then eat nothing until bedtime, which may be at 10 or 11, whenever you go to bed, you will feel a difference in both the ability to fall asleep and in the quality of your sleep. So try that. If you're not planning to intermittent fast, at least try, I recommend, to try and not eat 2 to 3 hours before bedtime. It's different for everyone, but if you are taking anything from this webinar this evening, is try to have 2 to 3 hours of no consumption of foods before bedtime. But we are here talking about intermittent fasting, so let's talk about that. So we understand that intermittent fasting could be 12 hours, 13, 14, 15, however long you want to do that, but do it gradually. So how do you do that? You stop eating at a certain moment and count the amount of hours you want to start. There are apps for that, by the way. I use one that is called Zero, and you can kind of like press the time when it starts, and then it tells you when you have reached your goal. You can set manually how many hours you're going to fast and all that good stuff. Look it up. It's called Zero, as I've mentioned, so see if that works for you. But there are many intermittent fasting apps out there. Don't be alarmed by the options they give you, because they give the 16/8 or 24. Don't worry about that. Make your own to what works for you. Don't compete with anyone else. You don't have the same body as anyone else. Do only what works for you. Go to the manual one and choose what works for you. If you've never fasted before, start small. Start small. You wanted a positive experience. You want it to be a good thing. You want to benefit from it. So start small. Technically, you don't need to fast longer than 12 hours. Anything beyond 12 hours is not a need of our body. You can if you want to, but again, remember, you have to go from a healthy point of your body. So if you are not sure your body is completely healthy right now and you want to start intermittent fasting, please don't go beyond 12 hours. It is not recommended, especially for women. Some people find that anything between 12 and 14, if they are healthy, is ideal, especially women, again. So if you're healthy, if everything's okay, no thyroid issues, no diseases, no illnesses, no prescription medication, no diabetes, nothing like that. If you are 100% okay, or at least close to 100%, then somewhere between 12 and 14 should be kind of like the sweet spot. So let's say you fasted. Let's take the 12 hours. All right, it's 8 p.m. You stopped eating and you're good until 8 a.m. What to do? How to do it right? There are several ways to do it right. First of all, and that's again, only remember this webinar is just recommendations. You don't have to do that. It's just general information. I would start when you wake up with water and lemon. So you take a big glass. Please don't use plastic. Please do not use plastic. So a big glass, fill it with water, squeeze fresh lemon juice, not the one from the bottle, not the one that is on the shelves, fresh lemon, squeezed from a real lemon. You can buy them all year long, and they're not very expensive. A squeeze of half a lemon should be enough. If it's too much for you, you can do less. Some people decide to go with apple cider vinegar. That's fine, but that depends on the hydrochloric acid in your body. Some people have very high HCl in their body. You do not need more. It could create too much acidity. You don't want that. And this is something you need to check. You wouldn't know if you have high HCl just off the top of your head like that. But start with lemon juice and kind of like sip it throughout the morning. So you are kind of like giving your body a boost and encouraging it to kind of like flush things out and start the day fresh, activate the digestive system with all the good stuff. You're getting the vitamin C from the lemon, some good minerals, and you are hydrating. So when you are waking up in the morning, don't run for coffee. Don't run for coffee, even if it's black. And by the way, in regards to coffee, I said I would talk about it. Emma, black non-caffeine coffee. With coffee, there are advocates for coffee and against coffee. It's personal. And that's just me, I would go without coffee until you break your fast, if possible. Now, that's given, of course, that you're not diabetic, you're not having any health issues. Remember, in these cases, there are things to consider and you have to talk to your doctor. But if everything is normal and you're in a healthy state and you're fasting, I would go with either lemon water, regular water, or herbal teas. I would try to push coffee a little further away when you break your fast. It's Again, it's a personal thing. It's something that I'm an advocate of. I prefer my clients not to have coffee and have them start their day fresh. If you want coffee because it's the only thing that wakes you up, there's another issue. If coffee is the only thing that gets you going, something has to be solved in your body, because when you are waking up in the morning, you don't need to crave coffee. If you've been doing it for a very long time, it means your body is now used to it and it's craving the caffeine, because caffeine is a nervous system stimulant. So it would demand it from you. But if you can manage, remember the muscle memory, that's where it is again. So if you can manage somehow to skip your coffee for a few days and have lemon water or just water or herbal teas for a while, and see after a week or two if you still are craving the caffeine, then there are some adjustments that need to be done in other areas of your body. Does that make sense, Emma? I hope I answered your question, because yeah, I blame kids for everything. Emma says I blame 9 months old baby. Yeah, I blame my kids for everything, even the weather. So we're on the same page. All right, so I hope that makes sense. The fasting should be done after you wake up with lemon water, or herbal teas. And let's talk now about what happens when you are reaching the point that you are ready to break your fast. And this is the famous name of the first meal of the day, breakfast. Everybody's like, hey, but breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Yeah, it is, but no one says that it has to be at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., or 9 a.m. That doesn't mean that this is when it has to happen. Breakfast is breaking the fast. If it happens at 10 a.m. or at noon, you're still breaking the fast. You're still having breakfast. So don't worry about the time. Worry about what you are having in your breakfast. And this is not less important than the process of fasting. Because imagine you are in a fasted place, your body's like, oh, thank you, I feel wonderful. You flushed away in the toilet everything from the night before or during the night, and you're feeling great, you're feeling energetic, and you're going to have pancakes with syrup and hot chocolate. No. Sorry, no. When you break your fast, the way you want to break it is with good, nourishing food that will not spike your insulin up and make you go like, bam! Because when you have something, bye, Raina. Thank you for joining. Hugs back. So when you are having something to eat, it has to be something that will not spike your insulin like crazy. So waffles and bread with jam, or pancakes, or a piece of muffin or cake or stuff like that, that will spike your insulin a lot. So from a very stabilized level that you brought your insulin to after your fast into a spike like that, you do not want to create that huge fluctuation. And mind you, not just carbs cause a spike in insulin. Fat and protein spike your insulin as well. But if you have fiber, that will slow things down. So starting your morning with something high in fiber, like fruit, or even better, vegetables, that is a fantastic way to start your day. I know some of you are not happy to hear that because a lot of people are not used to start their day with a piece of vegetable. It's not very appealing. But again, I'm going back to something called muscle memory. When we have that habit of consuming foods that spike our sugar levels very, very high, our body will get used to that. But when we feed it with what it needs, with nourishing, good foods, and start your day with maybe an omelet filled with veggies or a smoothie that the content of the smoothie is higher in vegetables and lower in fruits, but still super high in fiber, you are getting wonderful benefits. Or even if you have an apple with some peanut butter or pineapple with yogurt and some chia seeds, beautiful, because now you have provided with your meal high fiber content, which will slow the spike of insulin down. And that's a huge importance when you're intermittent fasting, because you have done such a great job to stabilize all those hormones that cause stress on our body, and fatigue, and hunger and satiety, and everything is normalized and balanced, and your body's thankful to you. The last thing you want to do is to say, bam, here, I'm giving you something that will shock you, without any fiber. So please make sure you have a breaking of the fast with a high fiber meal. Ideally, your first meal would be BFF. No, not BFF. Yeah, so fat, PFF, sorry. BFF is something else. PFF, protein, fat, fiber. You can have carbs. I do not object carbs. I think carbs are a huge, important part of our diet, but they can be less in your breaking of the fast. So emphasize the protein, emphasize the fat, and most importantly, emphasize the fiber. Now, let's say you decide to try and fast. And I don't know if this is a plan of yours, I'm just assuming. I personally would start slow. So let's say you are used to not eating currently for 8 hours, because until now you have snacked just before bedtime, and you wake up at 5 a.m. or 6 a.m. and you have breakfast right away. Move from 8 to 9 hours or 10 slowly. Don't jump from 8 to 14, boom, in 1 week, because several things will happen. You may have a bad experience and your brain will tell you that's not for me. So that's a negative experience we're trying to avoid. Another one would be you might be so hungry in the beginning that it will make you not want to continue with that. And our approach is long-term. We want to do something long-term, not something trendy, temporary, and just, oh, let's just try it out. I do believe that there are great benefits to a 12-hour fast, but get there slowly. Don't be in a rush. Give your body time to get used to the new regime that you're taking on. So move from 8 to 9, try it for maybe 2 weeks, see if you are okay with it, and then move to 10. Try it again for another 2 weeks and see if you're okay with it, and move to 11. Does that make sense? Just gradual transition into 12 hours. Again, I wouldn't go past 12 hours, but that's a general recommendation, nothing personal on this website. If you guys want to have a more personal recommendation, I do consult online or face-to-face when all this crazy times is done. So I'll be happy if you reach me and ask me any questions, or if you know someone who wants to do that, if you want to refer them to me, that would be great. But again, back to our point, do it gradual. Make sure that if you decide to go on with fasting, start from a healthy state, not from a stressful state. Make sure that you're not lacking anything and you are starting gradually. The next thing to do would be to have a good breakfast that is breaking your fast in a healthy way and proper. Now, let's imagine a situation where things are going back to normal and you go to the gym every day after work, you work hard, and whatever worked for you during now, let's say you're starting tomorrow or next week or in a month, and we're still in this quarantine thing. Let's say it worked for you, and then you're going and you're starting to work out regularly, and now you feel hungry. Don't worry about it. Just adjust things to make them work for you per your new routine. So if you succeed to go 12 hours without eating, and then you get to work out regularly 2 months from now, and you feel hungry and you can't last 12 hours, that's okay. Go back to whatever it is that feels fine for you, that feels comfortable for you, and continue to build it up gradually with your new routine. I hope that makes sense. So bottom line, it's very personal. You need to do what is best for you. Do not compete with others that tell you, oh, I do 16 hours fast. Great. That's great for them. That's not you. Do you. Whatever works for you, whatever is right for you, whatever is healthy for you, whatever you need to feel comfortable with, this is what you should go with, not what other people are following and obsessing about a certain trend. So it is an hour and 10 minutes. I hope all the information made sense. I hope that you got some clarity on intermittent fasting. I hope that you will consider it if you want. Of course, it's not something that you have to do. It's something that you can do. As you are wondering if you have any questions, as you type them in, I would like to send you off to my website. It's lemontreenutrition.ca. There's a new tab there that is called freebies, and you can go in there on the go. I'm going to add more and more freebies there. There are already a couple things there that you can just grab. You don't need anything. You just grab them. It's all free. I have stress management stuff. I have tips for better sleep. So it's for you to have. Please go ahead and use that. And if you know anyone who is interested in that, feel free to forward my website details to them. Again, it's lemontreenutrition.ca. So I don't see any questions coming up other than what I had before. Let me just double check. I've answered them all. So I hope I answered the increase of liquid intake. So not necessarily an increase, but a maintaining of about 3 liters per day would be a good way to go, off water or herbal teas or water with a little bit of lemon in it or a pinch of salt for electrolytes. post-workout healthy fats. We talked about how to break the fast and to take care of your stomach with good nutrition. And I'm trying to see black caffeine. We talked about coffee. It's a personal thing. And what else? I think we're good. So thank you so much, everyone. I appreciate you joining me today. I hope this was informative, and just watch my Facebook ads. I will keep on having webinars regularly and hope to see you again. And all the best. Keep safe and healthy. Bye, everyone.